balance in immune, digestive, and hormone systems, which often improves immediate physical symptoms without having you take a bunch of pills. If traditional medicines aren't working, don't you think it's time to start feeling like yourself again? Call Naturopathic Physicians Group at 480-451-6161. That's 480-451-6161. Or go to naturopathicgroup.com.
Hey, son, what you doing?
Looking around for jobs, offices, 9 to 5. I don't want anything boring.
You know, Brian's son is in the Phoenix Police Academy. Pretty sure he's not bored.
I never thought of that.
Check out joinphxpd.com and take a look.
Over 80 specialty details like detective and canine handler. What else? Dignitary protection, 911 operator? They have aviation and dive team jobs?
Rise to serve. Find more today at joinphxpd.com. Protect and serve with the elite.
Sponsored by the City of Phoenix.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
And welcome back to Beat the Book here on a Monday afternoon. After, I don't know, a ton of NFL action, college football action. We're not going to get to everything today, but we're going to try our level best because we had fights this weekend. Well, we had a fight and then we had something else. I mean, we had elder abuse on national television. We'll talk about it. We'll get into all of that stuff. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Monday Night Football game that we've got going on tonight. We're going to give you the winner of the Sport Trade halftime probability contest winner, which I think one result that maybe you didn't expect, one result that actually is starting to become the norm around here for this. I'm Keon Rose. Alongside me is our betting expert, Dylan Cohen. We are broadcasting live from the Harmon Solar Studios here in 1580 The Fanatic. You are on the text line at 888-368-1580. But before we get to any and all of those things, Dylan, who powers the show?
That would be Sport Trade. And if you have not already, make sure you search Sport Trade on your smartphone, download the app, use promo code 1580 to take advantage of their 10% cashback promotion on new account signups. And, Sport Trade, they've been running this contest on our site. Keon did mention it on our radio show here, not on our site. They've been giving out a $100 Amazon gift card each week and $50 in cash sent directly to your Sport Trade account for you to place some bets with. So it's going to go a long way for you if you get that Sport Trade account set up, if you follow this show. So then that way you too can participate and try and compete and get one of these prizes that Sport Trade's given out each week. And as Keon mentioned, we do have a winner for the contest. We will reveal the winner a little bit later on in this segment here. Do just want to take this time to also shout out the fact that the Beat the Book bets that were put out on Friday ended up going 5-5. So split again, 50% win rate there. There are another 10 bets that were posted for today. Most of them are going to be for Monday Night Football. There is a reason for that. We're going to get into that in segment 2. So make sure you stick around because there's a certain angle we're taking to this game that we haven't quite done yet. If you happen to listen to Beat the Book on a week ago from today, back on Monday, we gave a warning. I was very thorough about how I feel about the Dallas Cowboys, why they are such a huge betting opportunity right now. So make sure you stick around for segment 2. We're going to get into that more about this game tonight. But just wanted to actually take some time here just to shout out the DraftKings Sportsbook over by TPC Scottsdale. They were very kind in having Keon and I over there on Saturday for their UFC VIP watch party. And, something we haven't talked about on this show before, there's obviously, sports books that we interact with on our phones. But these places also have brick and mortar locations where you can go, you can have a drink, have a nice meal, enjoy the game. And I've been to a handful of these places around town. I had not had a chance to go to this DraftKings Sportsbook yet until this past weekend. And I had heard a lot of great things about it, but it was different to, hear those things and then go there and experience it in person. This is, in my opinion, the best sports book to go to in town to, go and actually get that sports book experience. You can place wagers there. They've got the kiosks for you to do it on your own. You can place them on your phone. But in terms of just the actual facility itself, the food was great. The drinks were awesome. The place just has like a true Vegas sports book kind of feel to it. And that's what I felt like the other sports books in town that I had at least been to didn't really quite have. Keon, what do you think about that place?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first place I've actually been to outside of the FanDuel Sportsbook downtown. That's the only one I've been to. But then, of course, we were talking about it actually that night, and the which one is the one that's in State Farm Stadium?
That is BetMGM's sportsbook.
Yeah, like if you're in the West Valley, like I'm sure that's a really good spot, but it's not a convenient location to get to. State Farm Stadium, just getting in and out of there is pretty rough. I mean, you're probably most likely to go there when the Cardinals are playing, and that's about it. So like this just being in a spot that it's pretty easy to get to. They have a whole lot of space for parking and things like that, and then they've just got walls of screens of every game is happening. If you're the person that likes to parlay, and I've seen some of the parlays that we get sent on this show, 8, 9, 10 legs, sometimes more than that. If you like that, there's a spot where you're seeing everything and you're able to follow everything. And it was, I liked it a lot, man. It was incredibly fun.
Well, and we got to take in the ASU game there, and that was cool because we got there a little bit early. There's still a lot of college football going on, so they've got every single game on. I mean, these are like walls of screens. I mean, it has a stadium-esque kind of feel in there. So just to be able to have that out in front of you, to see all the other games going on. Oregon was playing at the same time. Tennessee and Georgia were playing at the same time. They still kept ASU on the biggest screen. ASU had the upset victory. Just a really cool place to take all that stuff in. And as far as ASU goes, we're going to have a lot more to say about the program. We may not get to it until tomorrow's episode, but really, really exciting win for them. Really crazy game that they have coming up this week against BYU. So just totally, unexpected success for ASU this year. And let's hope that continues on. Now, this is the part in the show, Keon, where we do need to just acknowledge whatever it was that took place on Netflix Friday night.
Yeah, the mess, the disaster, I just called it televised elder abuse. Like that's just what it felt like. It was just like he's 60. What version of Mike Tyson at 60 years old is going to look like the version of Mike Tyson from 1985? Like it wasn't going to happen.
All the shine, all of the specialness, so to speak, of this, it all faded away like after the second round. I would say this is the first live fighting event that I've probably ever watched that made me feel kind of bad about myself. And then at least you kind of had the lighthearted moments in the, mess ups of the actual broadcast, whether that was just like the really bizarre commentary you were getting from like the constantly changing stable of like commentators that they were using.
Like every time they went back to the desk, it was like just different people, just a new cast. It would be like if you watched, college football game day, and every time they went to a commercial break and came back, it was just 4 different people sitting at the desk. It didn't make any sense why they chose to do that way.
And then you pepper in just like the buffering. And I mean, I was having tons of people like text me and just say that, like, I was getting a whole bunch of different feedback. Some were saying it was just flat out unwatchable. It was just constantly buffering. Some people were saying it was just kind of like cutting out on them, so crazy stuff like that. We put out a horoscope AI betting prediction that was trying to tie, Mike Tyson's potential win to something about the moon. and there was something there
Yeah.
with Mike Tyson in a full moon.
Yeah,
It just wasn't.
It just wasn't the fight. It happened before the fight when they just showed Mike Tyson walking off with assless chaps. And I nothing on earth could have prepared me for that. I was at Buffalo Wild Wings when that happened. A couple of things to point out. One, Jake Paul's audience is younger kids, to be honest. And so like there were children there and their parents are scrambling to cover their eyes so that nobody sees Mike Tyson's bare ass. One, two, the entire, I mean, I don't think I've ever heard a group of people collectively say, whoa, at the same time. That entire building at the same time, everybody went, whoa, what is happening? I don't know what that broadcast was on, because Mike Tyson, before he walked away, you knew what he was wearing. There's at no point him walking away should you have ever continued to follow him as he walked away.
Well, and then like the camera tries to like zoom in as like the means of like getting out of that view as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So just really kind of funny amateur hour seemingly
Yeah,
mistakes.
Netflix has never done this before, and it shows.
And now they've got a couple NFL live broadcasts coming up
Good luck with that.
next month.
Good luck with that.
So let's move over to one of the better sporting events that was on TV, and it happened yesterday. I personally don't understand even now why this wasn't the Sunday night football game, but America's football game of the week yesterday, Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs. I would go ahead and say that this game was as advertised. And that's, anytime the Bills match up with the Chiefs, you're in for a good football game. I don't know if these two teams, like, I'd really have to research it. Like, whenever the last time one team, like, really just beat the crap out of the other, because you just don't see it. Not in the era of Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. And, Chiefs came into this one undefeated. That's not the case anymore. Bills were able to get the victory. Final score 30-21. This Bills defense holds Patrick Mahomes to under 200 passing yards, and they force 2 interceptions. Josh Allen is now currently priced as the front runner for the NFL MVP on FanDuel. Keon, is this the best matchup in the NFL right now?
Like consistently? Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's an argument to be made for, some of these AFC North matchups. When you get Ravens Steelers, that's always just a physical, violent game. You get Ravens Bengals, and I'm guessing Steelers Bengals is probably going to be pretty fun too. Like those are some really nice matchups that you can get as well. I'm trying to think of another one where you just see that level of consistency when these two teams run into each other. I don't know if you can really make that argument for a lot of other matchups, especially when it comes to just the quarterbacks at play. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are two of the most exciting quarterbacks in the business. They make big plays. It's must-see TV. Yeah, I think you can say that this is the best matchup the NFL has going.
I would certainly have to agree, because I mean, outside of maybe the Lions and the Chiefs have had a couple of good games the last couple of times they've played. You might even be able to say, Lions and Packers, just, because of the history and being divisional rivals, a lot of the time you're in for a pretty exciting game whenever those two teams play. But this just feels like, like 5 years plus of just consistent, gritty matchups. And it almost feels like, for sure that these two teams are going to play again at some point. That seemed like the way Patrick Mahomes was feeling about it. When he walked off the field, it was like, yeah, we'll see you guys again. So really excited for that. Now, we did have that sport trade contest going on, and because the Arizona Cardinals were not playing yesterday, they did adjust the rules of the contest a little bit. The contest itself worked the exact same way. You had to guess what the win probability was going to be for a specific NFL team at halftime of their game yesterday. And what Alex Kane from Sport Trade decided to do was he made the contest about the Bills and Chiefs game yesterday, since this is this one-off week where the Cardinals did not play. So the contest was for you to text in what you felt like the win probability was going to be for the Kansas City Chiefs at halftime against the Buffalo Bills yesterday. And at halftime of that game, the Bills were winning. The score was 16-14. And the win probability for the Kansas City Chiefs at halftime was 40.5%. Keon, who won the contest?
Yeah, that would be Swazman at 25%. Everybody else was, well, there was a lot of picks that were very, very over. The moist one, getting in the typical 69% from him. You come to expect that kind of thing. And then there were a couple. I think NFL Blitzer had a 52%. Yeah, NFL Blitzer had 52%. The actual closest pick, and I'm sure he's going to be thrilled to hear this again for the third week in a row. Baker's Cocky Hens had the number that was closest, but because we do Price is Right rules, it's the closest without going over. Baker's Cocky Hens once again on the wrong side of that number, and so 25%, much further away, but below the 40.5%. That would be Swazman.
Well, Swazman, congratulations to you. If you are currently listening, please send us a text message. We just need your first and last name, as well as a good email address that we can pass along to Sport Trade, Baker's Cocky Hens. Keep trying, man. I'm holding out hope for you.
You've got to get one of these.
Keon and I are rooting for you, like more than anyone else, because it's really, I mean, this is just even if you tried to like get close but not win, like you couldn't try, like be that close. It's just
bad luck. It's just bad luck. Swazman, I appreciate you sending the information there. So we'll go ahead and get that all hooked up for you. We'll send you your information along to Alex Kane, and then Sport Trade will reach out to you to get you your prize. Swazman acting like he's been here before. Just said I won. Cool. Thanks.
Well, and anyone that did send in a text and participated, thank you for participating. And there will be another contest based on the implied win probability, and it will be going back to the Cardinals game for this week. So make sure you tune in this coming Friday. Alex Kane will be back on the program with us to go over the rules. So there is always another chance to have another crack at winning that $100 Amazon gift card and the $50 in cash sent directly to your Sport Trade account. Now, Keon, before we go to any kind of a commercial break, there was one other thing that happened yesterday that was important for me to get some words out here about. And this was tough because this game was going on right in the middle of the Bills and Chiefs game. So it was even tough to just be able to, pay attention to it. But our Phoenix Suns did play yesterday. The game was on early afternoon against the Minnesota Timberwolves. We were on the road in Minnesota. And if you were watching this game, you were treated to a very nice Devin Booker scoring performance. He ended up finishing with 44 points. This was a game where he had 30 points at halftime. The Suns were completely just feeding off of, the kind of high scoring game he was having. We were winning for most of this game. Then in the second half, Timberwolves are pushing and Suns are having a hard time keeping that lead. Keep in mind, no Bradley Beal yesterday, no Kevin Durant. We're making the best that we've got with the group of guys that were playing. And we find ourselves in the very end of this game. We no longer have a big lead. It is tied. The Timberwolves got the ball with around, I want to say 15 seconds left. They go for a final shot. Anthony Edwards passed the ball to Julius Randle. He was at the top of the key. Josh Okogie is guarding him. And Julius Randle does this move that, Keon, I said to you before the show, if this occurred in the first quarter, the second quarter, or the third quarter, it would immediately get called as an offensive foul. Mm-hmm. There'd be no second guessing it. It was just because this was the final shot to end a game. You've got referees who get criticized all the time for, calling fouls at the final second and, stealing games away from players and, not letting the play decide the outcome. That was kind of the vibe that I got out of this. But basically, Julius Randle with his offhand shoves Josh Okogie down to the ground. And then he shoots a three-pointer. It swishes as the buzzer goes off, and the Timberwolves win 120-117. So pretty frustrating to watch that live. We're still waiting for the 2-minute report to come out from the league. I am expecting it to confirm that there was a missed foul call on Randle in that moment.
For all the for all the good it does on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, it is what
But-
it is at this point. So that one hurt. That one definitely hurt. And now, if you're the Suns, you fly back home from Minnesota to have to turn around and get ready to face an Orlando Magic team tonight that has had basically 3 days of rest. They haven't played since Friday, so they're coming into this one with fresh legs. It's going to be a difficult game for the Suns to get tonight. Keon, how are you feeling about the Phoenix Suns right now?
I mean, as long as they're not healthy, I don't feel great. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. Is it's a big loss to lose Kevin Durant, and then to not have your second star, Bradley Beal, be there to pick up the slack, because they were doing that a little bit when Durant went out. It's like, all right, oh, Beal's still out there, and they were still able to get things done and win basketball games. And then out goes Beal, dealing with, quite frankly, multiple injuries right now. So I think that's the wise choice. This is a team that has to try and plan and build for the long term. But in the short term, it's kind of just Devin Booker out there. They rely on him to get everything done offensively. And you know, like, Tyus is a great facilitator, but like, they could probably stand to use him stepping up more as a scorer as well. I think he's capable, but for whatever reason, that's not a role that he's as comfortable in. So I think you got an Orlando team that looks really, really good. And they're getting some of their best contributions right now. I don't feel great about this Suns team at the moment.
In terms of this specific game tonight, I would not recommend betting necessarily on Suns or Suns player props, because you have to keep in mind this is the Suns' third game now in the last 4 nights. And I wouldn't put too much emphasis on being tired from a back-to-back, but then you have to factor in the fact that they did do some pretty decent traveling yesterday coming from Minnesota back to Phoenix. Then you have to factor in the fact that they're playing shorthanded. They've got key injuries. There's other players on this roster that are still banged up. You've got Yusuf Nurkic with a bad ankle. Grayson Allen has had some troubles that have kept him out of the lineup. So there's other things that are playing into this that I think when you take all of it, together, this is just something that's really tough right now for the Suns to try and navigate. And I do think that the Magic, with the rest that they have coming into this game tonight, it's going to give them a bit of an edge. So we'll just have to see how that game pans out. But I know we're a little late for a break here. So when we come back, we're going to be talking a bit about how we feel about this Monday Night Football game and why it's such a huge betting opportunity.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. I'm very excited for that one. Swazman on the text line saying, can I join Sport Trade and still get that bonus deposit from the prize I was trying? I think there might have been a missing comma here. I was trying to join last week. Yes, you can.
They will give you that opportunity. You can go ahead and get the account set up now. When they reach out to you to confirm your identity, that'll be part of it. They'll, want to make sure that you have that account set up so you can get that other part of the prize as well.
So absolutely. And then NFL Blitzer. Ow. NFL Blitzer said I had Booker at 45 points and Randall at 35. Booker needed 1 point.
Oh no.
I would have won $500.
Oh,
painful.
Sorry to hear that.
Pain. So NFL Blitzer, man, we feel really bad for you there. Hopefully you're not a Cowboys fan, because now I'm going to feel like I'm kicking you while you're down if that's the case. But we'll talk some Dallas Cowboys and Monday Night Football right here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Hear that? The sound of adorable little birds in your garden. And if you were here, you'd taste the 2 sweet but tiny tomatoes you grew all by yourself. But you're not here. Because your self-care happens when you're riding your motorcycle, protected by Progressive, on your way to the store for a pack of normal-sized tomatoes. So if you ride, switch to Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer, without getting your hands dirty. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
At Diamond Dave's Desert Wholesale Diamond,
we offer incredible diamonds, both mined and cultivated, all at amazingly low prices.
Check out these cultivated lab-grown diamond earrings.
2 carats total weight, collection color and lab-grown, only $25.90.
And she'd love this amazing tennis bracelet in natural mined.
4 carats total weight in yellow or white gold, only $39.90.
And how about this diamond chain in cultivated?
12.5 carats total weight, collection color and lab-grown, only $79.90.
And last but not least, especially this year, 1.5 carat floating diamond pendant.
Collection color and lab grown, only $9.90.
Call, email, or message us for an in-person appointment.
Or sit back and relax for free FedEx shipping anywhere in the USA.
Call Diamond Dave at 480-397-2450. That's 480-397-2450. Or follow him on Instagram at Diamond Dave Cantor. That's at Diamond Dave, Kantor.
Shop early, save big, all month long during Black Friday build-up at Lowe's. Right now, get select pre-lit artificial Christmas trees starting at just $59.98. Don't wait to save. Shop these deals today, in-store or online, because Lowe's knows deals. Discount taken at time of purchase while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
In most countries of the world, Porte means door. United Porte Custom Doors, located in the Scottsdale Airport Design District, is now open with over 40,000 European doors, all in stock, ready for delivery, and at wholesale prices. Designers, contractors, builders, and yes, you. Come see our showroom on Greenway Hayden Loop. That's United Porte, Porte. Stop by to see and feel the quality at United Porte Custom Doors. Find us at uporte.com. That's uporte.com.
AZ Preps 365, your source for all the news, info, highlights, and more. Athlete news and interviews. Talk with coaches. Keep you up to date with the changes, moves, upcoming events, and more. AZ Preps 365, Arizona's ultimate prep sports show. If you miss a minute, you miss a lot. AZ Preps 365, Saturday mornings 8 till 10 on 1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic. And always on at 1580thefanatic.com. If it's local, we talk about it. 1580 and 99.3. The Fanatic.
And we're back. Monday Night Football right here on 1580 The Fanatic. Right after the blender, right after this show. And we are excited to break it down for you because like Dylan mentioned earlier, lots of betting opportunities going on in this particular game, given that we have identified the Cowboys, we talked about this last week, as one of the dumpster fires of the NFL. And when you have a dumpster fire, potentially the dumpster fire, but like every time I see the Jets, I'm like, okay, you know what? the Jets are like the hold my beer team. Like, oh, you want to be a dumpster fire? Let us show you how it's really done. But the thing with the Cowboys is they're not the usual dumpster fire. They are a team that has a big brand. A lot of people bet on the Cowboys and bet for the Cowboys, regardless of how they're doing. And that tends to have the Cowboys priced in a way that could be advantageous if you're willing to put aside your Cowboys fandom. If you're a Cowboys fan, or if you're everybody else and you like laughing at them, just continue doing that. But hopefully with more money, there's some opportunities there to maybe beat the book, Dylan.
There absolutely is. So let's make sure that we've got the context of this game, perfectly situated here. If you're the Houston Texans, you're coming into this game having lost 3 out of your last 4 games. Those 3 losses came on the road at Green Bay by 2 points, on the road at the New York Jets by 1 score, 8 points, and then at home against the Lions by 1 score, only 3 points. And if you're the Texans, you are currently in the lead right now for the AFC South. And those Indianapolis Colts that are right behind you just happened to pull off an improbable win against that other dumpster fire, the New York Jets, yesterday. So you've got a little bit of added pressure from the fact that these Colts just won't go away. You've got a Houston team that is very, very hungry for a win, considering they only have 1 in their last 4 weeks. And their biggest weapon on offense, Nico Collins, is back tonight after having missed the last, 4 or 5 games now, or maybe more than that. So, I mean, this is a Texans team that is going to be very hungry. They are looking at this game as like a get-right win to make sure that, they're in good position to win that AFC South and get that better playoff seeding. And then, just taking into account the quality of the opponents that they've been playing over the last 4 weeks, now going into a matchup against what is currently the worst team in the NFL. And, when I make that statement, what I'm speaking to is the Dallas Cowboys right now, as of November 18th, 2024, at this present moment. I'm not speaking about them, in totality as a whole over some period of time. I'm talking about what they look like today with no Dak Prescott, with a questionable CeeDee Lamb, all of a sudden, with a whole lot of locker room turmoil that seems to be spilling out weekly in various ways, whether it's Micah Parsons saying something negative, whether it's Jerry Jones berating local radio hosts and threatening to fire them, like just really crazy kind of circus stuff. But then, you actually look at the Dallas Cowboys themselves. They're on a 4-game losing streak. They have not won a home game yet this year. 3 out of their 4 home losses have been by more than 20 points. Then you look at the most recent game that they played, which is going to have the most similar group of players, compared to looking at any of their other previous games, and trying to translate that into, what kind of production you're going to get out of the Cowboys tonight. And the Cowboys in their last game at home, they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles 34-6. Now, this Texans team isn't necessarily quite as good as the Eagles, but they're still a pretty formidable team that is currently winning their division. They have a very capable quarterback, a very capable set of wide receivers to be able to put up the points. And then you just actually look at the box score from last week. I'm going to remind everyone this. Cooper Rush had a whopping 45 passing yards. Jake Ferguson led the team with 24 receiving yards. CeeDee Lamb had 21 receiving yards. Jalen Tolbert had 14 receiving yards. Jalen Brooks had 4 receiving yards. All of those receivers' numbers are well under where their lines are today for this game tonight. And when you're thinking about how to bet on this, if you haven't already figured this out, I'm very much on the Houston Texans to win the game. I'm going to go ahead and recommend a ladder strategy where you can bet on the Houston Texans to cover the spread. Right now, if you're on FanDuel, the spread is -7.5. It's currently paying even money, +100. You can take it at -7.5. You can go ahead and push that to double digits if that's, ultimately where, your kind of limit on comfortability is. That's paying +122. If you want to jump over to it, winning by 2 or more touchdowns, now you're at 2-1. If you want to take them to win by 20 or more, again, that's happened in 3 out of 4 Dallas Cowboys home games so far this season. That is paying +420. Personally, I did this ladder strategy last week in that Eagles matchup. It worked very well. I did not want to very kind of aggressively push this on the show without having at least done like a trial run myself and had success with it personally, before I bring this out to the fourth dimension. And look, I mean, if you're a Cowboys fan, you probably disagree with me vehemently, and you see some bright spots somewhere, and I hope that works out for you. But I mean, if you want like an unobjective, just totally, analytical take on this, then what you're looking at here is one team in the Dallas Cowboys that is miserable. And I mean, top to bottom miserable. Every single person, whether you're front office, whether you're a player, whether you're like the concession guy in Jerry World, like you're all miserable. I mean, the misery is what, we're seeing in, the days where they aren't playing games, right? Because that's the only way that a team that's 3-6 makes so much noise Monday through Friday, when they're not playing. So, I mean, you could see it in their body language. If you happen to catch that Cowboys and Eagles game last week, we're certainly in for another repeat tonight. These guys are not going to do anything meaningful. Houston is desperate, quite frankly, and very hungry for a win, and they're going to go out there. They're going to get it pretty easily.
Yeah, I think they're going to get the win here. I think having Nico Collins really helps them a lot, by the way. I'm going to give you a Nico Collins stat. Nico Collins, when he is on the roster and playing for the Houston Texans, they are the 6th ranked team in total offense with 376 yards per game. When Collins leaves, they drop 76 yards worth of offense, which puts them at 24th in the league. They don't even crack 300 yards a game at that point when they don't have Nico Collins. And that's with Joe Mixon having the best rushing stretch of his career. So despite all of that, the Texans are just not the same offense when they don't have Nico Collins. He's a big factor in what they do. He's a big factor in getting the other guys going because you have to pay so much attention to Nico Collins that now everybody else has the opportunity to maybe get some one-on-one matchups that they weren't getting before. He makes the Texans a more dangerous team, and put this version of the Texans against what is quite frankly a hapless Cowboys defense. They are missing a couple of corners. They're missing Deron Bland. They're also missing Jordan Lewis. Like those are their nickel corner. Like those are two big ones. And then you also look at like where they have issues. Deron Bland is out, which means they have to turn to Kalen Carson, the rookie at corner, to go out there and guard Nico. Like that seems like that's going to be a recipe for disaster. And then when you look at the defensive side of the ball, the Texans have been very good defensively for the most part. They've had some letdown games, but for the most part, they've done a very, very good job. And on that Cowboys offensive line, you have Cooper Beebe and Tyler Guyton, who I think will be quality football players in the future, but they are rookies this year, and very often they look like it.
So I want to kind of draw some focus here back onto, who's going to be playing quarterback tonight for the Cowboys, and that's Cooper Rush. If you look at Cooper Rush's stats right now for just this season, and granted, he's only had so much opportunity, but his largest offensive output was back on Sunday, November 3rd. He threw for 115 passing yards against the Atlanta Falcons, and that was in a road loss for the Cowboys. So absolute most passing yards that this guy's had so far with this group of guys, this version of the Cowboys, 115 passing yards. For some strange reason, his line on FanDuel right now for passing yards is 177.5. And I know that there's probably some people out there that are thinking, well, hey, Cooper Rush has come in the past for the Cowboys, and he's had stretches where he's been a pretty serviceable starting quarterback for this team. Well, guess what? If you actually go back and you look at when that whole stretch happened, it was back in the 2022 season. And it was for like a 3-game stretch where Dak Prescott was injured. Cooper Rush did have 3 straight games of over 200 passing yards. And Keon, you could probably speak to this a lot better than me. How much better was this Dallas Cowboys O-line in 2022
it was a million
compared
times better.
to now?
They have lost a lot of talent at that position group over the years. And when you add that to the fact that they had elite running at the time, they don't have that anymore. Ezekiel Elliott, ghost of himself. Tony Pollard, he's in Tennessee with the Titans. Rico Dowdle is going to be the guy that's going to free things up for Cooper Rush. Like, they ran the ball really well, and that made life easier for him because that's how that usually works in football. So without the running game, without the offensive line, and basically just CeeDee Lamb as a receiver, like CeeDee Lamb is starting to look a little bit like Tyreek Hill when he didn't have Tua. Like, he's a good receiver, but no receiver is throwing the ball to themselves. And if you have a guy that can't really throw it, and Cooper can't, like, I don't want to hear it. He can't. He's not a good quarterback. Then the deep threat that CeeDee Lamb can be, the underneath threat that he can be, he's just not going to be able to live up to his full potential because he doesn't have a guy delivering him the football. When you look at the game where the sun was in his eyes and he didn't catch the ball, he might have actually had a chance if the ball was put in front of him. It was thrown behind in addition to the sun blinding him. Like, that's the kind of stuff that Dak wouldn't do wrong. You can criticize Dak however you want, but Dak delivers the football on time. He delivers the football on schedule, and Cooper Rush can't do that. And the Cowboys have to pray they don't have to ask Trey Lance to do it either.
So if you're someone that's out there that thinks, oh, I think Cooper Rush could have a pretty big game today. Again, that line 177.5 on passing yards. The last time he had a game where he threw for over 177.5 passing yards, it was over 2 calendar years ago. So that's the kind of production that we've had out of Cooper Rush. When you look at his most recent seasons, he is not throwing for serious yardage. And then starting at the top, if Cooper Rush is not getting at least 177 yards, let's assume he goes well under and he's finishing, somewhere in between 50 and 100. That would actually be better than what he did last week. Then you have to imagine that that's going to trickle down to these receivers. And, then you start to look at playing their unders in addition to Cooper Rush's passing yards under. And if you go to the Beat the Book website, and if you check out what the picks are for today, there's an overwhelming amount of unders, and it's because of this whole dynamic that we're speaking to right now. This is a team that does not function on offense. Defense might show up tonight. They may force turnovers. They may do a pretty good job of limiting CJ Stroud and Nico Collins' connection. I'm not saying that necessarily won't happen. What I'm saying is whenever the Cowboys do get the ball and they're going back on offense, that offense is not moving down the field. If you think Trey Lance is someone that, might be able to come in and redeem the situation, he had like a couple of turnovers in a very short amount of time against those Eagles. I do not see him faring any better against the Texans tonight. I can't imagine he's been getting a whole lot of first team reps in practice this week. So, if something were to happen to Cooper Rush and Trey Lance goes in there, he's not going to be any more prepared for the moment. He certainly hasn't proven it. The last time Cooper Rush proved that he could do it, like I said, was a very, very long time ago. If you want to, kind of go down this list of the Cowboys receivers, Jake Ferguson, his line is 33.5 receiving yards. Last week when Cooper Rush threw for 45 passing yards, let's see, Jake Ferguson had 24 receiving yards. CeeDee Lamb, 21 receiving yards last week. His line is currently at 60 for this game today. So there is just serious potential in betting unders across the board. Cowboys receivers. If you want to go over to Rico Dowdle and look to take the under on his rushing yards, his line is at 53.5. He only had 53 last week against the Eagles. And, if this game plays out the way that I think it's going to play out here, Keon, the Texans are going to rush out to an early lead. They're going to get up a couple of scores before halftime. And then at that point, if you're the Cowboys, like how much can you really run the ball?
Yeah. Speaking of running the ball, and we're right up against it, so I'll go ahead and make this last point. If you want to, there's something I'm considering laddering right now, actually, which is Joe Mixon rushing yards. He's like having the best stretch of rushing of his career, and the Cowboys are the 31st ranked rushing defense in the NFL. So
I thought about it, and I did originally have like a play on his rushing yards in the Beat the Book picks, but I'm getting cold feet about it because I did the same thing when Saquon Barkley came to town. And you had the Eagles. And I mean, look, if this game is going to resemble something similar to that game, then Joe Mixon may not even play in the fourth quarter because this one's going to be so out of hand. That's the only concern I have on that kind of a play.
Yeah. And that's if you think the best version of the Texans offense shows up and the game is out of hand. Because if it's still a couple of scores, and the Cowboys feel like they're in it, I think you should run the football. And Joe Mixon will be the guy. So it is a bit of a risky play, but it is one that could probably pay off if you, in fact, like that. So we'll give you the picks for today on the other side. This is Beat the Book right here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
It's fall football on The Fanatic. Catch all the live game play-by-play. Monday night, Thursday night, and Sunday day and night NFL games. Plus the Saturday NCAA football game of the week. It's all right here on the Valley's home for football. 1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic. Brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.
Hi, guys. Jeffrey O'Brien here. Have you ever gone to HarmonSolar.com? Well, you really need to, because everything you ever wanted to know about how solar power can save you big on your monthly electric bill is right there. It's online. Through your phone or through your computer, you can learn about tax credits, the equipment they use, look at how they do things for businesses as well as homeowners, see testimonials from happy customers, and I hear they got a pretty good podcast, too. Check it out. Go to HarmonSolar.com. That's HarmonSolar.com.
Shop early, save big, all month long during Black Friday build-up at Lowe's. Right now, get select pre-lit artificial Christmas trees starting at just $59.98. Don't wait to save. Shop these deals today, in-store or online, because Lowe's knows deals. Discount taken at time of purchase while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down. Slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or Avastin-capted Pagal is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Mom, where are my keys?
Why do I have to take out the garbage? I'm too sick to go to school. Quit hogging the bathroom!
If you're having a hard time living with all the noise, it's even harder to live without it. Fake pills with fentanyl are the #1 killer of youth in Arizona. Learn how to talk to your kids at talknowaz.com. This message is sponsored by the Substance Abuse Coalition Leaders of Arizona.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
So we talked a little bit about potential laddering strategies. There's, a way to ladder this game if you think it's going to be a blowout. The ladder the spread, which worked out pretty well for you last week against these very same Cowboys. There's a potential if you think the game's going to be a little closer. Maybe Joe Mixon rushing yards works out for you. But anything else for you, Dylan?
So I really just want to kind of cap this off with, if you're kind of listening to my whole rant from the last segment and you're like, yeah, okay, I get it. Cowboys should be so bad. Well, then why is the spread at like every single book, like 7.5? And Keon, we were kind of talking about this before. You said some things that sort of allude to it. You got to keep in mind the Dallas Cowboys are America's team, and there is like a history of the brand. There's some politics. There's some sentiment about how this team has played like in recent years, in the last 5 years, that what I think is going on is all this stuff is kind of subconsciously getting factored into where this line is being set right now. Because if this wasn't, America's team, Dallas Cowboys, in this kind of a situation, if this was a smaller market, like say Arizona Cardinals or Washington Commanders, having the kind of season that the Cowboys are having, I guarantee you this line is not at 7.5. At a minimum, it would be at 9.5. More than likely, it would be priced closer to maybe 12.5, 13.5, 2 touchdowns. Like that really lines up more with this, team that's been performing in, Dallas. Once you call them the Cowboys, it kind of becomes something a little bit different because all those things that I mentioned, they start to factor into it.
Like sometimes you just have a reputation. We see this in college football all the time where, Michigan, for instance, will get a favorable spread number just because they're Michigan. They've got a big fan base. They've been very successful lately. They're the defending national champions. Like all of those things factor into it. And then Michigan winds up being priced at a place or having a spread that just isn't justified at all by the personnel that they have out there on the field. I think the Cowboys are in a similar spot right now where the brand is kind of carrying them a little bit because, the spread of this game being 7 is kind of funny to me. This feels like a double-digit game minimum.
Keon, I mean, if there is such a thing as like being an expert at like identifying like miserable dumpster fire NFL teams, I think the guys who are like lifelong fans of the Arizona Cardinals and the Washington Commanders are like very, very thoroughly qualified to be able to turn around and identify, which team falls under this umbrella. Because I mean, we just know all too much about, what those teams look like. And that's exactly what you're getting with this Dallas Cowboys team right now.
Yeah. Like people try to use that as a negative. I remember one time, I think it might've been on the Blender. I said that the Cowboys are a very poorly run organization. And then I got a response that was something to the effect of, you root for the Commanders. You don't get to talk. No, I absolutely do get to talk. game recognized game, man. Like I know exactly what a bad team looks like.
Takes one to know one.
Yeah, I've been looking at one for 25 years. I know exactly what this is, and you're me now. We're the same person. And that's what the Cowboys have, like this reality that they haven't quite woken up to, which is your team's not good and your team's not run particularly well. And all of the bad decisions for the last handful of years are starting to stack up on top of each other now, to where I don't know that the Cowboys can necessarily get back on track this season. Well, I know they can't, but like next season even might be a lot of a struggle as well.
I mean, we could be looking at the beginning of like a very long rebuilding project in Dallas. So we'll just have to wait and see how this game goes tonight. Again, check out that Beat the Book website. I also have an episode of the 6 Point Play podcast that's available on Apple and Spotify, giving out my best bets in the NBA today. There are a couple of other NBA related bets on the Beat the Book post that I put out for today. I definitely want to mention the Indiana Pacers right now. If you want to look to back them on the money line, that should be a pretty good play. They are playing in Toronto, and the Toronto Raptors are in the midst of a pretty big losing streak right now. The Pacers also got a guy named Pascal Siakam who helped win a championship in Toronto. He doesn't get many cracks at getting to go back and play in front of that fan base. He's going to have a pretty good game. Benedict Mathurin, one of the best Canadian basketball players in the world, he plays for the Pacers, and he hasn't had many opportunities to go back to Canada to show what he can do. So I expect big games out of those two guys. Tyrese Halliburton should be able to rack up some assists in that game, but you can count on the Pacers to win on the money line. And do not forget about the long shot parlay of the day. That is also featured in that Beat the Book post. It's going to be towards the very bottom of the page. I do have Houston Texans covering a minus 19.5 point spread. That's an alternate spread to boost your payout there. Again, the Dallas Cowboys have lost 3 out of 4 home games this year by more than 20 points. That's a very doable mark for them to cover. De'Aaron Fox for 40 or more points. De'Aaron Fox has scored 109 points in his last 2 games. He's coming off a 49-point performance. He had 60 points the game before that. He may not have Domantas Sabonis tonight. The Kings are not going to have DeMar DeRozan. So De'Aaron Fox is in another great spot to score a lot of points. You can take him for 40 or more. Giannis Antetokounmpo for 35 or more points. Bucks are desperate for a win. Damian Lillard is coming back tonight. Giannis is going to be looking to score against the Houston Rockets. That's a team he has a history of scoring a lot of points against. And then I already kind of mentioned why before, but Tyrese Halliburton, 12 or more assists. So those 4 legs, $5 wins $1,017.90. That bet pays just a little bit over 202 to 1 on the payout. So if you want to see that bet in its entirety, just go to the Beat the Book website, scroll down on the very bottom on the November 18th post, and you will see that entire play there. And then I did mention it earlier in the show, the Suns play the Orlando Magic tonight. Just be very careful about how you bet that game. There could be some rest, dynamic kind of factoring into how the two teams are going to perform tonight. Suns are in a tough spot in that they're dealing with some injuries. They have played a lot of games over the last week. So this could be one of the first times where we start to see that stuff really impact the play on the court. Magic have been relatively fresh. They haven't played since Friday. So they're going to have the advantage there. We'll have to see if the Suns can overcome that.
That's good to know. And let's see. We don't have anything on the text line, but as far as that Suns matchup, I think that's one to keep an eye out for if you're trying to look for some overs. Maybe Franz Wagner, some of the Magic players give you an opportunity to maybe make some money there. Do you think?
Definitely Franz Wagner. That is actually someone that I have on the 6 Point Play podcast for today. He is averaging over 28 points per game since November 6th. He is really just on fire right now with the scoring and just with the rest he's going to have coming into this game, playing against Suns defenders who are not going to be starters necessarily and are going to be tired. That is just a recipe for Wagner to turn around and have a big game against the Suns. So, I never like to directly just put it out there that the Suns are going to lose. I would just stay away from betting them. That's going to be the way that I speak about it.
Yeah.
But Franz Wagner, You can count on him to score tonight. I took his over on points. You can take him for 25 or more if you want to be more conservative about it. But that's another good one too.
And that's going to do it for us. Obviously, you're going to want to stick around. We've got the Daily Blender coming up next. We have Monday Night Football right here on 1580 The Fanatic. The Houston Texans taking on the Dallas Cowboys. And we talked at length about that, which is going to be, look, it's not going to be a fun matchup to watch, but that's the reason why we're telling you here are the things that you can bet, because I can't think of any other true reason to watch this particular football game. The moist one sending a heart emoji on the text line, and I don't know how to take that. Is that I could feel good about that, but I could also feel bad about that. But either way, thanks for listening. Daily Blender is coming up next, and this is 1580 The Fanatic.
I'm Chris Rose with NFL Network.